Rumors are circulating, growing out of control over what's happening in Ottawa with the Great Honkening protest. For those that aren't familiar, the Freedom Convoy of truckers stretching nearly 50 miles has made it to the capital of Canada, where they are protesting vaccine mandates and other COVID restrictions. Now we are getting reports the Ottawa mayor has declared a state of emergency. There's already been talk of sending in the military, but the military in Canada has outright rejected this, saying, we are not the police. More reports are starting to circulate that military has been seen, but this could just be hype and rumors. So until we get direct evidence, I'm going to go and say it's probably not true. We are getting other reports, however. One corporal with the Mounties, RCMP, has resigned and reportedly is now working security for the convoy. As things generally get insane, arrests are being made, police are seizing fuel, there was a hit and run, and new video is circulating showing two men enter a building where the establishment leftists are claiming these men were trying to burn down a building because they didn't agree with the Great Honkening protest. Lies. Lies and slander. Now, you may have seen the news last week. GoFundMe shut down the fundraiser for the Great Honkening for the Freedom Convoy, claiming some BS about violence and unlawful activity. Facebook banned the U.S. Convoy's page, their group, and banned the guy who started it, citing their rules against QAnon. Well, they can't stop it. You cannot stop the people from rising up. As much as they want to smear this group of people as far-right, white supremacist or whatever, there's videos of Indian guys. They're playing music and people are dancing and cheering. Doesn't look like white supremacy to me. And over at GiveSendGo, they've already raised millions of dollars. I believe nearly $5 million. So GoFundMe can try and shut it down. It's not going to work. There is an interesting post I saw where someone got a refund from their $15 donation, but it was shy of 24 cents. This means it would appear that GoFundMe is trying to keep the credit card processing fee. Now, as far as I know, when we deal with refunds, you get a full refund. You give us $10. There's a processing fee for the credit cards. It costs money to do the exchange. Then there is a percentage fee, so it often sucks. And then we get that money. So when you donate to timcast.com, for instance, $10 turns into like $9.50 or like $9.40 something. If we issue a refund, we issue a $10 refund, we lose that money. That's how it works. It appears that GoFundMe isn't giving people full refunds, and now they're threatening to just file chargebacks with their bank, which would result in GoFundMe getting a fee of between $10, maybe even $35. Now imagine if every single person who donated filed a chargeback with their banking institution or financial institution. That would be a massive amount of damage to GoFundMe. But in response to this, we're hearing Republican leaders are going to be investigating what GoFundMe did as deceptive practices. Some people are outright saying it is fraud. My friends, the Great Honkening is a true uprising of the people that is very similar to Occupy Wall Street. Very, very similar. And it's remarkable then that we're seeing these ridiculous videos of people protesting against the worker uprising. The regular people standing up. It's not far right. That's a lie. Now, Jussie Smollett is trending because there are people staging attacks, pretending like they're getting hit. Well, I'll tell you, there's an actual hit and run. And it's reported now by Andy No, the guy who hit this person, hit one of the Freedom Convoy protesters, is Antifa or a far left activist. I think things are getting hot, man. I think you need to pay attention to what's going on because the way the government is responding to this, the way big tech is responding to this, there's so much being exposed in the amount of control they're trying to take over your lives. And why? For power. We see these videos. Stacey Abrams, see this viral photo? She's in a classroom full of kids with masks on, but she's not wearing one. How about Obama? There's a photo of him with some construction workers wearing masks. He's not wearing one. And now there's just, look, I don't even need to bring it up. There's so many videos of this. Photos and videos of the people claiming everyone's got to do the right thing, but they don't. Because they are a special class. They think they're smarter and better than you. Do not let these people take power. Granted, they already have a lot. But let's read the story from timcast.com about this declaration of a state of emergency. And then we'll read what's happening with police arresting the protesters, seizing fuel from people, and the counter-protest plan, the great troll of the great honkening. This one gets interesting. Fake gas cans, or at the very least, empty ones. Before we get started, head over to timcast.com and become a member if you would like to support our work. As a member, you get an ad-free experience and access to exclusive members-only segments from the Timcast IRL podcast. And for the most part, our work is funded by all of you guys. Of course, we do have some sponsorships, but we are a membership-driven website. So with your support at timcast.com, we will do more work just like this. We will report the news. We'll stand up for freedom, liberty, personal responsibility, and give you information for you to judge. We're not going to tell you what is or isn't. We're not going to tell you what to think and the way things should be. We're going to tell you if it is or isn't, and then let you decide. If you support that, timcast.com. But also, let's give a shout out to our merchandise. Go to timcast.com, go to the store, and pick up your free Honk t-shirt. This shirt will support the message, and the proceeds just come help us operate, run our business, hire more journalists. So I will very much stress, if you want to support the movement, make sure you're giving directly to them. If you want to support us, we have a shirt, Free Honk. It's modeled after the Free Hong Kong shirt. We have stickers and hoodies as well, and the funding here goes to supporting our work. It's very, very different. And I will stress this as well. Don't buy from us. If you really want to support the movement, make sure you're going to their GiveSendGo, which I will highlight. But if you do want to support the message while supporting our work, our merch is available at timcast.com. Here's the story from timcast.com. Ottawa's Mayor, Jim Watson, has declared a state of emergency to handle the truckers protesting national coronavirus regulations in the capital city. The 10-day-long occupation has essentially shut down the Canadian capital since it began. Quote, "This reflects the serious danger and threat to the safety and security of residents posed by the ongoing demonstrations and highlights the need for support from other jurisdictions and levels of government," Mayor Watson said in a statement. Now, this is really interesting. They've essentially floated the idea of the military coming in. Now you can see the mayor saying, we're going to need support from other jurisdictions, but hold on. One of the big criticisms from people who don't like the protest is the mandates are provincial. You shouldn't be in the federal capital for provincial restrictions. Well, then, they shouldn't be demanding help from other jurisdictions for what is just a city matter, right? You see how the game is played. It's a double standard. The Freedom Convoy began as a protest against a vaccine mandate for cross-border truckers, making long-haul trips between both nations. However, it has morphed into a demonstration against the Canadian government regarding other coronavirus regulations. Protesters have congregated in downtown Ottawa near Parliament Hill. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has refused to directly address concerns or meet with protest organizers because, in my opinion, they are despots. They want a social credit system. They want you using QR codes for everything, and they are losing, and they know it. Outside of the cross-border vaccine mandate, the protesters' demands included ending all of Trudeau's national COVID mandates. In his statement, Watson said the capital is out of control, and the truckers were behaving insensitively by blaring horns and sirens, setting off fireworks and turning it into a party. It's strange. The videos and live streams I've seen have shown regular people from Ottawa celebrating and waving Canadian flags. Certainly not everyone agrees, and I can respect that. Now, my understanding is the truckers are trying to make sure they don't blare their horns after 10 p.m. There have still been reports of people doing it. It is what it is. You can't control a popular uprising. And that's also true of Black Lives Matter. However, I can absolutely criticize violent riots from Black Lives Matter and Antifa while saying the peaceful protests, well, so be it. They're allowed to do it. I respect them standing up for what they believe in, even if I disagree. Now, the problem arises when people peacefully protest and we agree, but then the media comes out and says, this actually reduced the spread of COVID. Oh, geez. And then they call right-wing protests super spreader events. You cannot condemn a popular uprising that is largely nonviolent and then claim it is while defending your side. I'll say that to the right. I'll say it to the left. When Black Lives Matter laid down in the streets, blocked a bridge, I said, hey, nonviolent civil disobedience. Spot on. More power to you. And that was over George Floyd. When people went around setting fires and burning down police stations, I said, this is wrong and needs to stop. Peaceful protests should be supported. Now, what's going on in Canada? It's peaceful. Are there some violent disruptive acts? Yes, but it's a peaceful protest, non-violent civil disobedience. And I have remained consistent on this one. I can't speak the same for everybody else, but don't come at me with that BS. And I'll say it again. Extinction Rebellion blocked the street with the boat. I said, good for them. That's the right thing. Standing up for what you believe in a non-violent way. Sure, people are annoyed by it. They say, you can't block my right to drive in the road. Well, those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. And I'll say it there. I said it then and I'll say it now. When Black Lives Matter marches and waves their little flags, well, that's all right. When they block roads, yes, it is bad for a lot of reasons, and you arrest them for it. But we say, hey, look, it's nonviolent civil disobedience. They'll get their slap on the wrist. They'll get their charges. Now, bringing in the cops and arresting peaceful protesters, it's crossing the line. They want to say, police said they would increase local enforcement, including potential arrests of those aiming to help the protesters by bringing supplies like fuel, toilet paper, and food. Police said they are collecting financial, digital, vehicle registration, and other evidence used in criminal prosecutions. Convoy organizers have said they will not leave until the cross-border vaccine mandates are revoked. The convoy has relied partially on funding from international sympathizers and donors. GoFundMe has taken down their page. This we know. We have more news coming out of the Washington Post. Canadian police make arrests amid Freedom Convoy protests and seize fuel and vehicles. There was an interesting post. It said the truckers can't lose. If the truckers protest, they shut down the city, loads aren't being delivered, they win. If the police start seizing trucks, then loads don't get delivered, truckers win. If they arrest the truckers, then the trucks are then frozen there, blocking the city, the truckers win. Non-violent civil disobedience works. It has always worked. Not always, but I mean in modern history. And it's working massively now. Please understand this, everybody. Anybody who's trying to advocate for violence is trying to trick you. They are trying to trick you so they can weaponize this against you. Right now, peaceful people are going honk honk, and all hell is breaking loose. They're freaking out. They don't know what to do. We got to arrest these people. They're extremists. Oh, geez, but all they're doing is driving trucks and honking horns. So yes, if you block a road, you'll probably get arrested. That's nonviolent civil disobedience, and you can see the impact it's having. Now there's already discussions in Canada at the national level to remove all of the mandates, and they're going to come out and say it's not because of the truckers. Oh, but it is. Oh, but it is. The Washington Post reports, police are clamping down on self-described Freedom Convoy anti-vaccine mandate demonstrations in Canada's capital, making multiple arrests, issuing hundreds of tickets, and seizing vehicles and fuel. As Ottawa's mayor declared a state of emergency. Hey, back the blue, right? Nah. Abolish the police. How about that? I've long said it. I told the Conservatives, it was very obvious as soon as they started enforcing these rules against working class people by decree that it was going to get worse, and you better take what you can get while you can get it. These cops are seizing fuel from working class people. What was the response? People are posting all over the place that they plan to show up in Ottawa with empty fuel cans. That way, it's an I am Spartacus moment where the police will have no choice but to stop literally everyone to check their fuel cans, thus being unable to actually do anything about fuel cans. Now, I don't know what people should or shouldn't do, what they can or can't do. These are the rumors circulating. Washington Post says, the emergency declaration was designed to give officers more flexibility to respond to the hundreds and sometimes thousands of truckers and their supporters who are gathered in the streets to denounce coronavirus measures. Fireworks were shot off, drivers blared their horns, and streets remained blocked for the second weekend in a row. And Watson admitted Sunday that authorities were outnumbered and losing this battle against groups who were calling the shots. Nonviolent civil disobedience works. January 6th shows the opposite. These people who tried storming into the building through the tunnel entrance, well, they screwed themselves. They gave massive fuel to the Democrat and establishment political narrative, and they are weaponizing that against Trump, against Marjorie Taylor Greene, against Madison Cawthorn, against Steve Bannon, against Mark Meadows. But here we have but humble truckers going honk honk, and they're saying, we're losing this. We're losing this battle because what do? False flags? I don't know. Even then. They've tried saying there were racists here, and then the protesters throw them out. But there's a Confederate flag, and then there's videos emerging of them being thrown out. It is not working. Not even on Reddit. They can't contain the message. The narrative is broken. The establishment has lost control. Ottawa Police Service said in a statement Sunday it had launched over 60 criminal investigations amid the ongoing protests, including thefts, hate crimes, and property damage. At least 7 arrests had been made as of 9 p.m. Sunday local time in relation to property damage and other acts of mischief. Mischief, oh no. Multiple vehicles and fuels have been seized. Now let me just stress, of these arrests, you know what? Good. You know why good? Anybody who comes and actually causes property damage should be arrested and charged. And I'll tell you this, if it is nonviolent civil disobedience, you should be arrested and charged. That's the point. You've crossed the line. We all say, okay, it's not going to be the most egregious damage in the world, but you get your message out there. If it's people who are disrupting the cause and causing problems to smear people, then good, arrest them. People should be peaceful, nonviolent, and those who engage in nonviolent civil disobedience should be arrested. That is the price you pay for stepping one step over that line. You get your message out, you're disruptive, but you do get arrested. Now, as for the police seizing fuel and other things, I think these police, they're crossing the line. They should be saying no to this. Now, there's one officer, Corporal Bulford, I believe his name is, announcing his resignation. But let's read more here first. They say among the more than 500 tickets issued this weekend were notices of excessive honking and seatbelt violations. No, hold on. I'm not upset with the cops over enforcing this stuff. If you are obstructing a roadway, you get a ticket. Well, they're raising funds. What should happen next is that people should organize funds to pay for the tickets and pay for the fines of those who engage in nonviolent civil disobedience. That's what the left does. Y'all can do it now as well. And the police need to maintain that line. What we don't want, people burning down buildings, smashing windows, starting fires. We don't want that. So you need to set a line and say, this is the line. And when people step 1 foot over it, you get a ticket. There you go. Now, there's a lot of people on the right saying, this is BS. They're issuing tickets. We got to pay for this. No. Look, man, we as a civil society recognize there's a boundary. When you cross it, you receive your punishment. Your point has been made. I agree with nonviolent civil disobedience, but in order for it to work, there also has to be enforcement. They say police said it issued a warning to the public that they could be subject to charges if they were found to be supplying demonstration trucks in the red zone with fuel. That is crossing the line. That has no bearing on anyone parking or honking. That's the BS. Photos and videos shared to social media over the weekend showed protesters chanting shame at officers and confronting them. How dare you do something like this when we are fighting for you, shouted one protester. No. That's what the left likes to say. We're fighting for you, officer. You're on the wrong side of history. Well, a lot of these cops should be ashamed of themselves. In left-wing protests and in right-wing protests, doesn't matter. But this is not people smashing windows and starting fires. So what ends up happening is the left plays the fake narrative. The protests were largely peaceful. Yeah, I've always acknowledged that. I'm just critical of the ones that aren't. But what they'll say is, why aren't you defending the peaceful protests, Tim? They'll pull clips from my show, from my videos out of context to make it seem like we're not literally defending those peaceful protests. I love, cherish, and respect all of those leftist, peaceful protesters waving their little American flags or whatever, well, probably not American flags, but whatever BLM flag they want to wave in Antifa. But when they get violent, I say that's wrong. And the same is true for the people here. I defend it. Trudeau said last week that sending in the army to end the protest was not in the cards. Ottawa Police Chief Peter Slawley, under criticism for his response to the protest, has said there may not be a policing solution to this demonstration. And that he and other commanders were looking at every single option, including military aid. National monuments were defaced, and protesters danced on the tomb of the unknown soldier in some Ottawa protests. A Canadian flag featuring a swastika was spotted during television coverage, and they kicked that person out. Please. You are going to have bad actors. The same is true for BLM. We must condemn all of the bad actors. I'm not a fan of Black Lives Matter's policies, their positions. I think those are all bad and should be condemned and criticized. But you are allowed free speech and you're allowed to engage in protest. I agree more so with the workers' uprising here, and I will condemn those that are acting violently. Take a look at this. Winnipeg police ID driver accused in hit and run involving protesters against pandemic restrictions. Yeah, an SUV driving through the crowd hit some dude. I think they hit 4 people. This individual has been charged with a number of offenses, including 4 counts of assault with a weapon, failing to stop at the scene of an accident, and dangerous operation of a vehicle causing bodily harm. The charges stem from an incident that occurred just before 10 p.m. Now here, let's talk about the double standard. Let's talk about my positions here. There have been numerous instances where BLM has surrounded vehicles, banging on the cars, or even shooting people, like in Provo, Utah. Some of these drivers then speed and hit people. There was one woman who was driving on the highway when people surrounded her vehicle, and she sped through them, hitting several. She was not charged. Don't surround vehicles and bang on them. In this instance, this individual is a known Antifa protester who has apparently, let's just say, made some insinuations in the past that calls this into question. As for this vehicle, nobody was surrounding the SUV and banging on it. Nobody was screaming at it. And there's been no instances of right-wing groups shooting anybody. There's no reason for someone driving this car to be scared unless they thought they were surrounded by Antifa. This was wrong. The person should be charged. That's not a double standard. The left has one standard. If it supports the left, it's good. If it doesn't, it's bad. That is not a double standard either. A lot of people said it's a double standard. You see, no, we get it. We get what their standard is. Condemn right-wing protests, support left-wing protests. Right-wing protests are super spreader events. Left-wing protests, they slow the spread of COVID. Well, their one standard is, if it supports the left, it's fine. If it supports the right, it's bad. I'll tell you this. This group of people are not rioters. They've not rioted. So hitting them, attacking them makes no sense. There's no context for this. Again, unless you thought they were Antifa. Now this is a very interesting story from the National Post. They say until recently, Danny Bulford was a corporal with the RCMP. He said he resigned because the force's requirement for members to be vaccinated. He also said in a statement that he looked at the Constitution and he looked at what the law allowed, and he found that very much so, the Constitution, the Canadian law had been violated. And so he decided after about 15 years, he was resigning. When he says his past job in speeches, it provokes laughter from the audience and a wry smile. The irony is not lost on me and probably not lost on him either, referring to Trudeau. He worked 8 years personal protection detail for Trudeau. Here we have from the National Post. The military is refusing to intervene. Military tells Ottawa to find someone else to evict the truckers. The Liberals are trying to censor the internet again, says the National Post. But let me jump over to GiveSendGo to show you can't keep them down. Now, some people have been concerned that GiveSendGo is on Amazon Web Services. Some are concerned that it's using financial infrastructure that can be taken down, but here we are. Since I pulled this page up, we can see $4.5 million have been raised for the Freedom Convoy 2022 out of a goal of $16 million. Hopefully this can be used to pay legal fees, tickets and fines, etc. I'm now going to refresh it and see where we're at, assuming the page still works. It is now up to $4.9 million. As I stated early on, if you want to support our work, you can become a member at timcast.com and buy our free Honk merch. We also have some shirts that say, go truck yourself. That merch supports the message and the finances support our work. But I want to make sure it's very, very clear to everybody. If you want to support the Freedom Convoy directly, GiveSendGo.com/Freedom Convoy 2022 is where people are donating. The merch we sell is just to help fund our operation, hire more journalists, get more people on the ground. And also I'll give a shout out to Viva Fry and Portland Andy, 2 people that have been live streaming. I'm not familiar, as I've said, with Portland Andy, but Viva Fry, good guy. We've had him on the show. Consider him a friend of the show. He's an awesome dude. And he's been on the ground providing real live stream coverage. Good for him, man. So those are the people you should be supporting. Absolutely. We do humbly request your support in our work as well. But if your focus is the cause, make sure you're funding that cause directly. But let's talk about GoFundMe. GoFundMe took down the trucker convoy. Take a look at this. From Defiant L's. Karima Rules tweeted on February 2nd. Doesn't look like things are going well for the convoy's GoFundMe money. That's a shame. 2 days later, just 2 days later. This is one of the hardest and most painful threads I've ever written. I got screwed by GoFundMe. My gonzo journalism of Ottawa occupation was arbitrarily deemed prohibited conduct. If you prefer to support my work, please send an e-transfer. Now, I don't know if this individual is left or right or whatever. Doesn't look like things are going well for the convoy's GoFundMe money. But this person put anti-vaxxers. They're not. They're against the mandate. Seems like this person was mocking them getting their money pulled and then had their money pulled. Well, that's too bad, but you reap what you sow. Now, check this out from Conservative Review, Blaze Media. Republican leaders commit to investigating GoFundMe because the company took down Freedom Convoy's money. Prominent GOP officials throughout the country are committed to investigating actions taken by GoFundMe in dissolving the fundraiser for Canadian truckers in the Freedom Convoy and refusing to distribute funds raised on their behalf. The widely popular fundraiser generated several $1 million. Yeah, about $8 million. Newsweek reported the fundraising effort raised $10 million Canadian, around $7.9 million, and $1 million had already been distributed to the organizers of the Freedom Convoy. They said GoFundMe initially announced on Friday it would refund contributions to anyone who applied, and remaining funds would be distributed to charities chosen by the Freedom Convoy organizers and verified by the crowdfunding site. Basically, taking money from people who didn't know was going to be diverted. Now, my understanding is this is in GoFundMe's terms, and this has been pointed out before. GoFundMe basically says if you give money and it, for whatever reason, is not going to be dispersed, they choose where it goes. Stop using GoFundMe. I hate to say it. I saw a fundraiser for somebody who was severely injured and a skateboarder. And I was like, I really would like to give this person some cash to help their family, but not through GoFundMe. Sorry, I refuse. You want to raise money for someone, use GiveSendGo. I know they say that they're a Christian fundraising platform. They ain't going to stop you from fundraising for your medical issue. But look at GoFundMe. It's political. Many people have pointed out the fears of a cashless society. We're there already. The government will take your money without having to do anything. No search warrants, no executions, nothing. If you have cash, if you have coins, cash, gold, physical, whatever, you put it in a box, you hide it under your mattress. If they want it, they need a search warrant. Then they got to find it. In a cashless society, it's right there. They get a warrant to freeze your funds, just like that. Cryptocurrency pulls you from that system. There's nothing they can do about that. They might know you have it. They might demand. But like with John McAfee, they kept saying, like, where's the Bitcoin? He's like, I don't have any. And they were like, we know you do. And he's like, no, I don't. And how do you prove it? They can try. They can try. Crypto pulls you out of this stuff. Let's throw it over to Politico. Ottawa truckers convoy galvanizes far right worldwide. Please. You are losing the far right. Those Indian dudes dancing, someone said Punjabi supremacy or whatever as a joke. Please. Far right. But I'll tell you this, my friends. Left, right, completely meaningless. The battle for control is here. The culture war is over. There is no culture war anymore. The culture war. This was back when we were arguing over whether or not certain movies should say certain things or whatever. Now, the culture war ended. Now, both sides have solidified in their worldviews. To a great degree, there's no changing. And they're saying this is the worldview or that is the worldview. And now, they're fighting for political power. The culture war was 10 years ago, my friends. Now it is political conflict, weaponizing the military, the police, positions of government and authority to go after your opponents. The FBI goes after January 6th. They ignore BLM for the most part. This is not a culture war anymore. It is a fight for political power between two parent factions that contain many different groups, all fighting with each other. And perhaps the culture war was when we were trying to, it was the building ranks portion. People were rallying people to their cause. We're beyond that. There's no rallying anymore. Either you're the authoritarian feigning getting hit by the truck, or you're the crackpot psychopath hitting someone with a truck, with an RV. I'm sorry, with an SUV. This is where we're at now. Jussie Smollett is trending because there's a video of a guy standing in front of a truck and then slipping and falling and acting like he got hit. And there are people making crazy claims about what's going on. Let me show you this tweet. Justin Ling tweets surveillance footage of two individuals entering a downtown Ottawa apartment building and setting a fire. And everyone's saying it's the Freedom Convoy protesters with no evidence. None. We don't know who it is or why. And these people, if they broke in, don't know who they are. Maybe they're allowed to be there. If they broke in, they should be arrested. Now, apparently they set a fire. If they set a fire, they should be arrested. Don't know who they are. Don't care who they are. If there's a crime committed, lock them up. But of course, I've already seen many left-wing activists and journalists claiming the convoy protesters are breaking into buildings and setting fires without evidence. Because that's all they have is lies. That's what they do. They lie. But you know what? Honest people who believe in freedom, life, and liberty don't fall for your bullish anymore. They don't fall for it. That's why I think it's so dumb. You know, all the stuff going on with Joe Rogan and whatever. It's like, dude, how many people are left who don't know what's going on? I get hit up by pro skateboarders all the time. Pro skateboarders. And these are the as apolitical as you can get. And they're like, what's going on is freaking me out. They get it because they listen to Joe. And that's why the left is so freaked out over all of this. You can't stop it. The police can't stop it. The military can't stop it. It's regular people standing up and saying, shut your mouth. And the only thing you can do is say, yes, sir. The honking stops when freedom improves. If you want the honking to stop, just comply. They told us that. You want your freedom back? Just comply. I said no, and I moved. The great honkening said, no, you comply. And now the mayor's like, there's nothing we can do to stop this. It's too bad, isn't it? As always, my friends, you want to remain peaceful, lawful, protest. Do it right. And make sure you're respecting people and property. You don't want to cause problems. You don't want to destroy people's lives. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 8 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastIRL. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.